Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome back to Talk of the Devils, sponsored by talkofthedevils.co.uk. The best United podcast out there. Listen, not pretty viewing today at all. Very disappointing. You know, we had 2 weeks off. We had the Bruno contract, hoping to get a little bit of... not pretty viewing today. Can everyone mute themselves?
It's my tablet, sorry.
Was it? No worries, that's fine.
Sorry.
That's fine. Right, sorry, I've unmuted you lot again. Sorry. Right, yeah, so we were expecting a bit more of an excitement today. Obviously, Bruno contract but we didn't get that. We were kind of talking backstage that it was the Fred show. Great finish, by the way, and we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail. And then everyone else, the other 10 men. Dave, how do you feel after that? Tell me what your thoughts were.
I mean, I'm kind of losing ways to explain it every week, every other week, how we're playing, especially at home. This team is. I've been following this club since the early '80s, and this is probably the worst Manchester United team I've seen in that time. And I've seen some bad teams in the '80s, but the one thing that I've seen with those teams in the '80s, was commitment. There's absolutely no commitment from this team at all. Bruno Fernandes, He just recently signed a new contract, which I'm fully supportive of, 100% behind it. He's our best player and has been since we brought him into the team. He just needs to. I think him and a few other players around him just need to start showing a little bit more commitment. What I will say though about today is that it was a very confusing lineup. It was a very confusing formation, and I gotta kind of ease back a little bit on Fernandes for today because I don't even think he knew where he was supposed to be. Him and Elanga and Sancho. It was at one stage, it was Paul Pogba playing up front. It was a very, very confusing team today in regard to what Ralph Rangnick sent out there. We've no idea why. I'm not sure why Ronaldo wasn't in the squad. May have been, too many games in the space of 2 weeks. So
illness.
Listen, I can take a defeat, I can take a draw, I can take a bad game, but what I can't take is a lack of commitment. And for all the abuse that Fred gets, he's probably one of the few players that gives it every single week. He may not be as what we used to call Manchester United standard, but on a commitment level, he's right up there. And a few players could, they could take a lesson or two from his actual commitment. So, but for me, it was no big surprise to see us perform like that. I mean, teams like Leicester come to Old Trafford and they get a point. They're probably disappointed these days. But we should be smashing teams like Leicester, especially when the two best players weren't even playing. But a very, very disappointing 95 minutes for me.
Yeah, wholeheartedly agree. It was a very disappointing one. And you mentioned Vardy and Didi missing. I spoke about this on another show the other night, and I really thought that we could obviously take advantage of that, but we didn't. And I agree with your thoughts on the lineup. I think Gary Neville sort of touched upon it as well. City play without a number 9, but they've got such a well-drilled squad that's able to do that. And in the 2 games we've done it, funny enough, against City and today, not good at all. And I think we did lack that middle man, that sort of target man to aim for today, and it was very, very disappointing. Get your comments in, guys. Want to get some conversations going, want to read out your comments and talk about it, so please put those in. Stu, my good man, I hope you're well, buddy.
Yeah, good.
Poor result, obviously, today. I know it's never nice to talk about the match necessarily after a draw. We were lucky to get 3 points, as I said backstage, but how are you feeling after that?
Do you know something? I'm not actually surprised about how the game panned out. Once I saw the starting 11, we were so unbalanced. And I've said this in many shows, Mark, with you. You can't play Pogba, you can't play Bruno, McTominay and Fred in the same starting 11. It just doesn't work because it's a pedestrian unit. And certainly with Pogba, he's quite a lazy player on occasions. As good as he is when he's on his game, he's as bad as he is when he isn't on his game, and that's a big issue for us. Dave was right about Bruno and certainly Elanga. maybe not knowing what their roles are. And I agree with you on that one, Dave. The problem I've got with that is they're professional footballers who've been playing the game all of their lives. And look, my first match was 77, and I have seen some absolute dross under Dave Sexton. I really did. But this is not what I'm just talking about any football fan. I'm not talking about the stature of Manchester United. I'm just talking about any football fan in any football club. It's not what we expect, because I'm not saying there's a lack of ambition out there, but there's a lack of fight. There's a lack of energy. And I cannot believe, and I don't like the term world class. As Reece will tell you, I hate the term world class. There's no definition to it. Nobody can ever explain what world class is. But let's just say, for argument's sake, then we've got world class players.
Let's just say world class is Messi and Ronaldo, and that's the only world class that exists.
Yeah, but let's just say, for argument's sake, we've got world class players on our side. I cannot believe they don't know how to win a game of football, or don't know how to stop, scintillating attacks like Leicester put on us. Once they woke up, by the way, once they decided to wake up and play the game in the last quarter. And we're just looking around aimlessly at each other, wondering what to do. And I'm going to say it, and I've called Varane out. Again, Reece will back me up on this. He knows my thoughts, and I've called him out on 10, 12 occasions this season. I'm going to do it again. A player of his calibre not actually knowing where Iheanacho is unbelievable. He should be looking here, not there. He should be looking here, to the side of him. Where's Iheanacho? Where is he? And Tella should be screaming at Varane, step in 2 yards, because all he got to do is back into Iheanacho, because he wouldn't have seen where he was. It wouldn't have been a foul. He should have backed into him, and Iheanacho wouldn't have got anything in. I cannot believe the comical play that I saw today, and it pains me to say it. It really does pain me to say it, because I hold a season ticket at Old Trafford, and I'm a platinum season ticket holder, 28 years, and I don't know what to do next season. I can't make up my mind what to do, and it's crazy. The worst part is...
One of the things you mentioned was Varane. One of the things I've seen, which we were praised for in the past, we would take average players and turn them into really, really good players. Now we seem to be taking really good players and turning them into average players. And Varane's been a prime example of that.
They tend to regress,
really
don't they?
Yeah, no, you're not wrong, Dave. I said right at the very beginning, when we were linked with Varane, I said he's going to take at least a season. You're not going to see the Varane at Real Madrid. And the lads know all this. And I got vilified, Dave, for it. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't know football. Well, actually, that was bollocks. Rubbish, Mark, rubbish. Because I'm a centre half, so I understand that position very, very well. And I picked him out 12 times, and still today I get, but Maguire this, Maguire that. It just doesn't work like that. And I thought Maguire, I'm sure you guys will agree with me, I thought he was excellent today. I thought,
he played very well. Yeah.
For the trouble that he's had, I thought he was excellent. But oh my word, De Gea again on his goal line, just doesn't know. He gets scared outside the 6-yard area. And anyway, look, I've gone on too long. Reece, I'll let you have your say, mate. I've gone on too long. I could have gone on forever. Sorry, Mark. And sorry, viewers, for my tiny indiscretion.
No, it's fine. It all happens. We're frustrated. We're angry. It's going to happen from time to time. No worries at all. Reece, I know you're not a happy man either. I've seen some other messages from you in another chat. And talk to me, buddy. How do you feel?
Well, it's a good thing I can lip read, because judging by Jamie Redknapp, he is actually slandering Varane right now as we speak, because they're actually showing the goal back right now. For once, I don't disagree. I think Maguire was probably our best the two centre-backs today. Varane is an exceptionally good centre-back, but I agree with Stu. Today, his performance wasn't great. I think the one thing he did do really well was a couple of passes forward that should have led to United creating a significant chance, but we didn't. The midfield just got caught by the Leicester wing-backs, which is a recurring theme throughout the game. Reese the Sorcerer. If I could conjure up abilities, trust me, half the midfield would be sold. Put it that way, and our fullbacks. But in terms of the game itself, I said it to you guys like before we went live. Only one player today was actually worth watching. That was Fred. 10 men. I'll say it for the first time in a long time. 10 men I couldn't give a. Sorry, Wayne, but I'm saying it anyway. 10 men I couldn't give a shit about. I honestly couldn't care less about other 10. Like Alanga, I love him to death. He was woeful. Sancho, don't even know what he was doing. Pogba, lost. De Gea, don't even get me started. Shaw, Tellez, Christ. Dallo, more stepovers than successful crosses. Matic was comfortable, but he didn't really have to do anything. McTominay, worst player on the field. Maguire was probably our best centre half. So I think realistically, you look at our team, but only two players. That's not good enough. Like that's appalling. Like 2 players like out of 11 that started plus like the 2 substitutes that I can't remember if we made 3 because we were that bad. Like the substitutes wise, it was just really weak. And you would expect after the international break, I know international football is slow and United aren't particularly great starting from an international break. They've always been a bit hit and miss, but you would think the likes of Fernandes and all that would kick on like a bit of, like they would carry that form into the Leicester game, but they looked afraid. Like they looked scared of Leicester, and I was like, that's unacceptable.
You are right. I mean, you have to take these things with a pinch of salt, but their record coming back from international breaks has been abysmal in the last couple of seasons, especially. Probably plays into it somewhat, but yeah, really disappointing today. Great to see your comments coming in, guys. For those of you, there's a lot of you on Twitter. Please come over to youtube.com/Talk of the Devils. We can't see your comments on Twitter, so please come over. We want to see your comments. We want to read them out, and we want to go through it and dissect it as much as we can.
Oh, and I'm good, by the way. I forgot to say, I am good as well, by the
way. John Commode in the comments said, "Evening, guys. Nothing surprises me anymore. I said the other night, I don't think we should be in the Champions League next year. Just not good enough. New manager, we need a lot of time to rebuild from this." Absolutely spot on. And I had a conversation the other night. Obviously, it's been 10 years of a lot of difficulty, and we seem to sort of, especially at the end of last season, get into a position of on the cusp of getting to a good point. But for some reason, it's completely capitulated, and now we are having to do that rebuild again. And honestly, I'm very, very impatient. But to everyone, really, we've got another 3 years, unfortunately, until we're probably going to be challenging for anything again, and I know that's painful. But
the worst thing is, Mark, sorry to cut you off there, bro.
No, go on.
You say 3 years. I honestly don't even have a time scale. Like in retrospect, I don't think you could even put a time scale now, because we thought we were in that position where we only need a midfielder and we need a winger. Now we need at least 3 fullbacks. We need a centre back because there's dispute over what our best pairing is. We definitely need to look at goalkeeping in the summer. That has to be one of the first 3 things that the manager's got to do. We definitely need a holding midfielder. We need a striker. In fact, I'll go on. We need 2. And we need to look at wingers because, like 8 players, and we're not going to do it, but I don't think 3 years is enough, mate, because there's so much that needs to be done. By the time we win a title, I'll probably be mid-30s, and I'm 25 in 2 weeks.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that.
You're absolutely right there, Reese. Oh, sorry, go on, Dave.
I disagree on the goalkeeper thing, to be honest. I think if it wasn't for David De Gea today, we would have lost that game. I think David De Gea, since we bought him back in 2011, he's never been a real what we would deem as a real English goalkeeper, where he comes and punches pretty much everything. De Gea has always been a goal line goalkeeper. Yeah. He's always been afraid to come off his line. That's never going to change. That said, I think De Gea is the least of our problems. I mean, Reece, you mentioned there earlier on about our summer. When we had the summer signings that we had, I thought this is the best transfer window we've had in a very, very long time. And then we were all just saying, you know what, we're just one defensive midfielder away from a title challenge. Now we're looking at this and we're going, I think we need a new striker. We need at least 1 or 2 midfielders. We need a centre back, a commanding centre back, because I agree with Stu. I think Varane's going to take him a year. I think we'll see the best of him next season. But I do believe that he needs a more steadier centre back around him than Harry Maguire. But I think, with David De Gea, I don't disagree that at times he's shaky, but I think it's the least of our problems. And there's really not a lot out there other than De Gea. I mean, Henderson's a decent goalkeeper. He'll come off his line, but there's a lot of mistakes still in him before he becomes a world-class goalkeeper. But we're far off. I do agree, Reece. I think, in the summer we looked at it and we are like, hey, you know what, we could challenge this year and we get a good defensive midfielder. We could probably, push someone all the way. Now we're looking at it and going, oh my God, we have to start all over again.
No, I agree. I agree with you, Dave. It's not that I've got nothing against De Gea or Henderson. Like, Stu backed me up on this, and Marco as well. I said in the summer I wanted both sold. Like,
you did.
I didn't see the need in De Gea anymore, and I think Henderson bought into his own hype, and I don't think he's that good a goalkeeper.
100% agree with that.
I think we should have brought in someone permanently and just made a new number one, and then Heaton as the backup if that was the intention, and then promote a goalkeeper from the youth academy in due time. I just think if we are going to play with a manager who prefers a goalkeeper likes distribution this summer, that has to be one of the first decisions. But of course, if we do stick with De Gea, I'm not particularly bothered with it. It's just, I think it's one of the key decisions. But you're right, though. It's not the absolute top decision that needs to be fixed, but I think it's one of them.
I do agree. Just very quickly, I'm going to read some comments out. I'm going to bring Stu in shortly. Dave, you're absolutely right. A goalkeeper is probably the least of our worries, but I've had a number of worries about David De Gea for a long time. Whilst he obviously saved us again today, I think that obviously football is a very cyclical thing, and goalkeepers especially evolve all the time. And I think the goalkeepers you see in the top teams these days have far better distribution, come out for the ball and are more commanding. And Henderson, I know, Reece, you've said your points on Henderson and his negativities, and perhaps he is overhyped or has overhyped himself. I think he brings far more to the back four than what David De Gea, and I know Stu will come on to this in a moment. Anyway, I'm going to read out a few comments quickly and then I'll bring you in, Stu. Evening, guys. My conclusion from the matches review is on the website, so talkofthedevils.co.uk. Wayne's he's done obviously a match review himself, so please go over and check that out, player ratings and all of that. He also goes on to say, when the message from the top is that it's okay to throw away full seasons, it's difficult to point a finger at the players when that's what we see on the pitch, and that's a very good point. John Commode, I'm not even sad or angry anymore. When full-time whistle was blown, I wasn't even bothered, and I feel that way. And Stu and I have had a few conversations recently. It's painful, but it is over. And there's absolutely nothing we can do. And whilst we're going to be there through thick and thin to support every game and enjoy the moments where we do win, there is a lack of sadness for that very reason. And it's obviously difficult to be that way. But we just have to start again next season and maybe being out. Go on.
Sorry, Mark. Before we move on from this one, I mean, this is a damning, reaction, which I believe we all feel as well, and that comes from the pitch to the stand. I mean, I don't like keep going on about the Fergie years and stuff like that, but even after him, when Moyes came in and Louis van Gaal, when we got beat, I think we'd all agree sometimes it ruins your weekend. It shouldn't. We're adults. We should move on, but it does. It ruins your weekend. It ruins your day. It ruins your night. Here we are 6-7 years later, and I feel exactly the way he was feeling, is that, it is what it is. This is what this team over the past 2 to 3 years, it's not just this team, because a lot of these players have been here under Ole as well. It's the lack of giving a shit. And that's what gets to me. It really does. They don't care. They really don't. I mean, imagine having to tell Jesse Lingard 2 years ago when he was playing really bad to stop posting stupid, videos and social media posts and just, go into the background. All you're doing is alienating the fans when they have to troop off home and spend 3 or 4 hours in traffic to get home. I know some guys from, up your way in Scotland, Reece, and it's an 10-hour round trip for them. And, by the time they even get to the parking lot, we're getting these stupid tweets of, we'll try again next week. This hurts. It doesn't hurt, because if it hurts, you would fix it the following week. and they don't. And I've, like I said earlier on about Fred. Fred is the only player on that team that shows commitment. Even Scott McTominay is kind of slacking off a bit lately. And I don't like to say that about the guy because I think there's a player in him. But I just believe that Fred is the only one. And that comment that was made earlier on, I think I personally feel that way as well. It's when we get beat, when we draw, it's kind of like, even when we win, there's no massive, like, unless it's a last minute winner. There's no, because you know what's coming the next weekend, right? It's like, here we go again. So sorry for cutting in there, but I think that was an important thing I wanted to just say about that. Is that is we didn't decide to be like this as supporters. It's what we see on the pitch that we kind of it's ebbed away at us for the past 5-6 years, and we have supporters coming on here and saying it doesn't bother me anymore. Shouldn't be like that. It really shouldn't.
No, it shouldn't be like that. And don't get me wrong. That's not how I feel. I just like other people that I've spoken to recently. It is so difficult when there's nothing to play for, and I've never been like this at all. But I'm just so downbeaten from this season. Yeah. I'm just happy we came away with a point today. I'm not really enthralled by the fact that we're in a top 4 race. That's not where we should be. I've just lost this season has been a real struggle for me, and I just am struggling with it at this moment in time.
You know who I think spot on? Ben McManus in the live chat. He's compared us to the Liverpool of the 90s. I hate that comparison, but you're not wrong. You are not wrong. We have become Liverpool. We've become nostalgic, living in the past. We need to do things that this club should have done a very long time ago, and one of them stop listening to certain people who should be enjoying a retirement right now. I love Sir Alex Ferguson, but he should be actively ignored. He shouldn't be asked for his input. Respectfully.
Possibly.
Retired. Let him retire.
It's difficult for us to know what goes on. I actually think there's bigger problems than that. You know what I mean? Conversations can be had. Alex Ferguson is going to be listened to. And ultimately, I think the players need to show a bit of desire. We need to recruit better. We need to get a little bit of sort of philosophy and system and an actual manager that the players actually know what's coming is going to be there for a number of years, hopefully, and go from there. I'll come to you in a moment, Stu. Sorry, buddy.
That's all right, mate.
I understand a lot of players will be out the door soon, but you think the prospect of a pay cut might motivate them to not be entirely lifeless? Guess not. It's a difficult one, obviously, if that's in the contracts and it's all sort of few and far between, really. Lots of good comments coming in. Ajmal, that's how I'm going to pronounce your name. Apologies if that's wrong. Reese is right. I hope the owners don't take dividends to invest that money in the squad, and I hope they don't give Pogba a contract. We'll see if he leaves at the end of the season. I personally think we would need 4 new fullbacks, a couple of centre halves, at least 2 midfielders, a couple of strikers, and a new goalkeeper. I mean, Christ almighty, he's replaced.
You just need a complete new team.
Replace all of it. That's
a
difference from what we had last summer with the players that we got in the summer. We had a complete contrast to.
But this is the thing. He's not wrong, Mark. He's not wrong.
I don't.
He's completely on my wavelength.
We don't want to admit it. It's like
completely agree.
Squad.
The thing is, like, there's been so many people that vilify like Manchester City for how they've went and won league titles, like how under Guardiola they spent well over $1 billion on their team. But you look at the way they spend money on the team. He didn't just buy 1 fullback the year after he failed to win the league in his first season. He bought 3. Like, he knows what he needs, and I think for this new manager's coming in, if he wants free fullbacks, you get him free fullbacks. If he wants 2 centre halves, you get him 2 centre halves. If he wants a whole new midfield, if it takes like 5 midfielders, give them what they want. And that's the difference between a club that is actually built on sporting success and a club that is built on commercial success. And pains me to say, but we all know which one we are, and it makes me physically sick. I know it makes you guys physically sick, but it's disgusting that we completely actively ignore what a manager wants in favour of just signing players because they sell a couple of 1,000 shirts. Like, who cares?
Well, it's the reason why we're led to believe that Pogba has a contract on the table. I mean, it's not for performance, not a chance. They're not giving him £400,000 of offering him for, if rumours are to believe, we're offering him $400,000 a week. That's not based on his performance. He probably had I could count on one hand, world-class performance since he signed for us, 4 to 5. Stu, would you agree with that? I mean, giving Paul Pogba a new contract isn't that just insane?
Look, I've gone on record as saying that he should have gone like this summer just gone, not the summer gone, the summer just gone. He's not done anything for us in 5 years. I can't think of a decent performance, really, if I'm being particularly honest. Now, you could argue he hasn't had the players around him. So when he goes off and plays to France, he's got quality footballers in and around him. But that's no excuse. If you're this top talented player, and I speak about attitude and application all the time, because that's what our players don't offer us. They don't offer us common sense football. They don't offer us the right attitude, and they don't offer or provide the application that they're being asked to do. And this is one of the biggest issues that we have. So we have a team of egos, a team of posers in many ways, which pains me to say that. And we have a team of people who are just really quite happy to pick up a paycheck. And look, when the Premier League burst into life in the early 90s and finances became, I mean, Alan Shearer's moved to Newcastle on 35 grand a week, I think it was back at the time, was a massive turning point for salaries. It was a big problem for everybody, and it's just increased and increased and increased. And people can, look at salaries, and you've got to add the salary to the player. You've got to look at Dele Alli as a great example of a wasted talent. He was a wonderful player at the very, very beginning of his Tottenham days and his MK Dons days. But now he's driving around in a Rolls Royce. He's picking up 200 grand a week. Whether he plays or not is an irrelevance to his lifestyle. And this is the main issue. Now, I'm not tiring Marcus Rashford with that brush, because Marcus Rashford's done a lot of good outside the game, a lot of good. But I said on a show, a different channel, I'm afraid, but I did say on a show a few weeks ago that there are certain players that need to actually take a look at themselves and ask the question as to what made the club offer them 100 grand a week? What made the club offer them a signing on form at 14 years of age, to go into the youth team, and then at 16 years of age, and at 17 years of age, and at 18 years of age when they're signing their first professional contract? They need to understand what that was. What was I doing then to earn that very, very first contract? Where's that enthusiasm gone? And unfortunately, a lot of it is to do with looking at your bank account every morning, like we all do, and thinking, that's a tight month for me. These idiots are looking at it and thinking, Ferrari, Lamborghini, new house. What do I do? And it's a big issue. And look, Dave, you've been watching the game for a long, long time, but you remember Danny Cadamartri out of Everton, a wonderful talent. Where's he now?
Yeah.
What is his main contract? Jermaine Pennant. Where's he gone? Kieran Richardson. Where's he gone? Makeda.
And it's not a Manchester United. Sorry, Stu, I don't want to cry, but it's not. Just, I want to make it clear. It's not just a Manchester United problem.
No. It's a football problem.
And I always say this, that, I know Fergie had his reasons and Wenger has his reasons, but they were smart enough to realize that I'm not going to be able to motivate these players anymore. And that's one of the reasons. I will guarantee it. I'll go to my grave with that. That's one of the main reasons they got out. They thought, you know what, I've built 2 or 3 really, really fantastic teams. But to your point, Stu, what drove these players at 14 to get that final contract, to get that professional contract, is not driving them now, because and it's not a Manchester United problem, it's a football problem. And that's what I believe, that's why they got out. They said, I won't be able to motivate these guys. They're earning so much money in 2 years that it's generational money. They'll be able to retire in 2 years. There's no motivation there anymore. Zero.
It's exactly what I've said to this. It's exactly what I've said to these two in particular. Obviously, speaking to you for the first time, Dave, I've said to these two before, there's football players at 19 that are making 100 grand a week, thinking that my exact words were thinking that they've made it in the game. You've made fuck all. You've done nothing in the game to suggest that you've deserved that amount of money. You can earn what you want. I've got nothing against what players earn, right? Because that's obviously, it's their job. They
agree on that. Yeah.
But to get paid 100 grand a week at 19 because you've just got promoted to the first team, no. That's a societal problem. That's why I'm an advocate for wage gaps, like wage gaps or wage structures. Like Manchester City have.
We need a structure. Yeah, we need a structure in place. You're right.
Manchester City have that. Like the highest earner, I think, is 250 grand a week. I think that's Kevin De Bruyne. If you want to get more than Kevin De Bruyne, you've got to be a better player than Kevin De Bruyne. And you look at Man City's team, all due respect, none of them are better than him in terms of contribution.
All of them have
and
been
that's
better
what
than
we
him
have.
this season. But
that's this
but there you
season.
go.
But I mean, like overall contribution, though. If you know what I mean, like.
Yeah,
I do agree that there's better players than him this season, but in terms of overall contribution, he's their highest earner for a reason. We're giving $100,000 to players that have been in the like professional game for 5 minutes and think that they've went to a World Cup final and won the thing. Like they've done nothing in the game to stipulate that they deserve this money.
I'm going to come to a couple of comments quickly, and then I'm gonna talk about. I want you to we'll do like a quick fire thing where I'm going to come to each of you 30 seconds each just to tell me about Fred's performance today. I thought he was excellent. I want to talk about a few positives, and then we're going to give the player ratings, and we'll do that very quickly as well. We'll go through each player. So a couple of comments first. Just something that Wayne wrote earlier I picked up on, going back a little bit. I'm very repetitive on this, so sorry. But Josie wanted Martial and Pogba out in 2018, would have probably imploded anyway. But we would surely have been better backing the manager. And he says as well, it goes on to say that he's far from Jose's biggest fan. Lots of comments about the youth as well. Some in agreement, some not in agreement with the 19 and $100,000 a week thing. We'll come to that in a second. Hannibal Mejbri, why can't he get a SIF? He's obviously spoken about a few weeks ago. We've spoken about Alanga, and there are a lot of players in that.
He needs to beef up
He does.
That's his only problem.
He does. But there's a lot of youngsters that really, at this point, I think, I know there's top four to play, but you know what? I just think that you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. And at the moment, we're so far off the pace. We're showing such lack of desire. Throw some of them in, and I tell you what, you'd get 100 mile an hour out of them, and probably better football, in my opinion. Lots more going on to say about those as well. Wayne, 2, we've seen nothing in 5 years to justify that decision. Obviously, we have seen a problem with managers not having control of the dressing room, and I agree with Mike's comment, and I think that was to do with the
I agree with that.
Youngsters coming through as well. Right, so talking about Fred. Red Fred redemption is what I'd like to say, and I have said months and months and months ago, even before this season, I said that he will come good. He's obviously played out of position in a defensive midfielder role. He's number 8. This is why you see him play so bloody well for Brazil, because he plays in that number 8 role and he thrives, and he did that day. But he is our top presser before Ralph came in. He's our top presser statistically, and he was always going to thrive under Ralph, and he really has paid dividends. But just talk to me very quickly, 30 seconds to a minute each, no pressure. Just give me a little rendition on him, please. Dave, you first, buddy.
Well, I mean, take me back 12 months ago, and I was constantly complaining about Fred. I think we'd all agree that last season and his previous seasons, they weren't really of a standard we've expected of a player that Brazilian international. But if we're fast forwarding now to the past 3 or 4 months, like I said, from a commitment standpoint, if only Fred could pass that on to a lot of his teammates, because he does give 100% every single week. He's definitely improved over the past 2 or 3 months, very, very noticeably. Yeah. I mean, he gives away the odd pass and stuff like that, but that's going to happen with the amount of space he covers on the pitch. But he's starting to chip in with some goals. Today was an excellent finish, a very, very difficult finish in that situation, and a very, very good goalkeeper to beat as well. So for me, Fred's been absolutely, I won't go as far as saying fantastic. Fred's been very, very good over the past couple of months, and arguably in the top 2 players that have performed over the past 2 or 3 months. And listen, we've said this as well. He's a Brazilian international. He plays for Manchester United. We're obviously the ones that are wrong, because the Brazilian manager doesn't pick players on a regular basis for World Cup qualifiers and stuff like that if he's not that good, unless he doesn't offer something. And I think Fred does. I think, with Ralph Rangnick coming in, it has freed him up a little more. I think he actually realizes what his role is in the team now. The only time it gets a little bit bogged down is when Stu said earlier on, when we play Fernandes, Pogba, Fred, and McTominay together. I think it's a case where Fred gets a little bit lost, and he's doing 3 or 4 different jobs. But for me, I think he's absolutely fantastic to pass. And I don't say that really easily about Fred, but he's been really, really good over the past 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, excellent stuff. Good points, well made. Just quickly here, he's the most improved player this season, Fred under Ralph, full of energy. As Neville said the other day, there's a reason different managers keep picking him.
Yeah.
Very, very true. Listen, we can sit here and talk all we want about what we know and how we think people should do it, but ultimately these guys are professionals and they've all done the same thing. So very good point there. Stu, your turn.
Yeah, well, basically, unbelievably, what as a team we've actually noticed is you don't play the ball into Fred with his back to goal or when there's a player around him because he panics. He cannot control it. But when you play it into space, he'll take it under his spell and he'll move it and he'll do something with it. And what you're seeing for the past 3 months is a player let off the leash, a player being able to express himself like he does with Brazil, like he did with Shakhtar. He's a wonderful number 8. He really is. Yeah. He's not the best number 8 out there, but he's by nowhere near the worst.
Totally agree with that. He is good, very
but
good.
But when he was playing as a 6, if you guys recall, every time a centre half or a fullback would play the ball into him, he's taking it with his back to, to their goal, the opposition's goal.
Very good point.
He's hit straight away, or it bounces off his shin, or anything else. But when you take it and he's got somewhere to move, where Fred is really, really good is the ball will come to him. He'll have a quick look as the ball's rolling to him. And then as soon as he takes it, he's almost halfway on the turn. So he's ready to go. Or he's laid it straight back off because he knows what he's doing. He understands his surroundings very, very well. One of the issues with him is if we had a really good, solid holding midfielder. Now, Mike, Dave, you probably... we've not been on a show before. I talk about travelling distance between the centre halves, the goalkeeper, and the central midfielder. Okay, and I mean that it should be 10 or 15 yards either way. 12 yards, really. Our goalkeeper should be on the 12-yard line at any one time, ready to receive the ball. And that's another story. But Fred was no good at that. Fred couldn't understand. He needed that yardage. So what tended to happen is Varane, I don't know, Wan-Bissaka, it doesn't really matter. We played into him. And because he's so deep, they're pushing on us. That was his biggest problem. So he couldn't actually swivel his way, do a 180 to get himself out of trouble. And that was his biggest problem. Now he hasn't got that on his shoulders. He's a lot freer. And so for me today, and you're right about his strike, by the way, he had to lift it. He had no choice.
I tell you what, you catch that wrong and snatch it, that would have been over the bar any other day.
I think it and put a bit of backspin on it and let it float over Schmeichel, and Schmeichel wouldn't have got it. It would have been a lovely finish. I'd love to have seen him do that. Or you kind of put your foot through it, but you don't lean back. He didn't lean back. He stayed straight, and that's why he got it under the bar. It's a wonderful finish. But today, he's making McTominay look a bit of a problem for us. If you look at how pedestrian McTominay was all game, and his header, he should have been absolutely smashing the centre half out of the way to get that in. Unbelievable. Castagna it was, wasn't it? Castagna beat him. He should have been coming in, bang, get stuck in there, And he should have taken Schmeichel, Castagna, the ball, and himself should have been in the net. Andy Gray would have absolutely smashed that home. But sorry, I'll Reece, you can come in now, mate. But that's my observation on Fred anyway. Since we've released him, much better player.
This comment here, assumed by Wayne again, a little bit like Biggs is
absolutely right.
Absolutely spot on there. It did. I could envision that in my head exactly how that goal was, but absolutely right.
His body was straight. If he lands just a little bit, it's 3 points to whatever a rugby team is.
Yeah, absolutely. Reece, your 30 seconds. I know we've had a couple of minutes each, but it's been good. No, it's all right. I'm only playing. I'm winding you up. But no, it's been good for what you've had to say, both of you. So thank you, Reece. Your turn, mate.
For me, I'll keep it in 30 seconds for you. For me, I think Fred, frankly, is given the role he deserves to play. He was restricted under a manager who didn't have any tactical nous. All due respect to Solskjaer, he didn't have any. He's playing under a manager who's going to get the best out of him in a tactical sense, playing him his preferred position. It's transferred his international form, playing him as a box-to-box player, as a ball-retrieving box-to-box player, not just any box-to-box player, ball-retrieving. It transcends him carrying the ball really well. He's progressed him more. He's adding goals to his game. The only thing he needs now is a permanent manager that's going to back him. And next season, he should be in the team. McTominay must be on the bench. You can't play both together. Yeah. As of next season, both of them, no. It should be Fred personally for me.
Well, yeah, good points, well made, mate. I'm going to give you a couple of points from my perspective. Okay,
No stats.
No stats, mate. Don't you worry. I'm not this
Eye
time.
test. Forget stats.
Eye
Eye
test.
test.
Fred, for me, is not a number 6.
No chance.
At
No
all.
chance. No
The
chance.
reason why he's played in that position more so than anybody else is because of his tenacity and closing the opposition down, forcing them into errors. You can do that as a number 8, okay? And a lot of number 8s do that. So he can play there. And if Pogba goes at the end of the season, which is highly likely, you keep Fred, and I think he's a wonderful squad player. Still need to get a couple of midfielders in. You might see him maybe not start so many games. But I think Fred for me is massively improved, certainly this season, and very underrated.
I'll just add one spanner, just one spanner.
Go on.
And I'll get slated for this, but I don't really care. I've often spoken about players looking at their role within a squad, understanding their role within a squad. And if you can't actually get your preferred role, what can you do to affect the squad? And for me, DVB, Donny van der Beek, would have been a perfect 6 for us, based on his calmness, his control, and his ability to pass. And he would have complemented Fred and Bruno perfectly.
Interesting you say this, Stu. When Donny van der Beek first came in, and I was ripped to shreds with this, his best stats and his best ratings at Ajax were as a number 6, and defensively he's actually quite astute. And I think with the calmness he has, I wouldn't mind seeing him playing there. And I know that sounds absolutely crazy, and everyone says he's a number 10 and all this. He's played in every single position you can imagine in that midfield at Ajax. I know it's a different league, but he could do that a little bit better. So we'll see next season. Obviously,
with all due respect to him, he's Dutch. You don't have an excuse for not playing any central midfield position.
No, true.
Because they don't treat that as an excuse. It's either you play number 6, you play number 8, you play number 10. If you can't do it, then they'll just tell you, well, you've got no future in football.
I will just say one thing. I remember when I was younger, I would play anywhere to start.
Just to get a game of football.
Just to get a game. I play anywhere.
I was a winger growing up, and my first ever game as a footballer, left back.
Yeah, mine was left back.
Left back in the changing room.
I scored a 90th minute free kick. That was it.
Do you know what I did?
Right, guys.
When I was
I need to move on. I'm really sorry.
Another one.
I need to move on. We're going to do player ratings, okay? So I'm going to come to you each. No, it's no problem. I've got to rush off at some point very soon, so apologies.
And I knew he needs to change that awful shirt, doesn't he?
My awful shirt. I tell you what.
I'm only kidding.
David De Gea. So Dave, I'm going to come to you just very quickly. Reason why the rating you'd give him out of 10. David De Gea, please, Dave.
I mean, I'd give him a 7. I think he was one of the reasons why we didn't lose today.
Yeah. Stu?
Yeah, I'd have to give him a 7 because he pulled off 2 brilliant saves. So I'll have to give him a 7.
Yeah. Reese?
Yep. It's same as me as the 2 lads. 7. 2 fantastic saves, and also he was actually very vocal towards the centre backs as well. Yeah. Very different to usual games. He was more vocal. He was trying to get them pushing up. He was trying to organise Varane and Maguire in a position where they'd be more effective going forward. It did work at times actually. So at least it's not an overly massive positive, but it's hopefully a step in the right. It's something at least. And
I know it sounds crazy to say that at 29, but perhaps Ralph's noticed that, and it could be something that they've kind of spoken about. Who knows? But there you go. Right, yeah, agree. I absolutely agree. David De Gea 7 for me today. Diogo Dalot, our right back today, Dave.
I mean, he didn't do anything right. He didn't do anything wrong. For me, it's kind of like between a 5 and a 6. I wouldn't give him anything more than that.
Yeah, Stu?
Complete vanilla performance. I think Dave's hit the nail on the head. He was a 5 for me. Vanilla, blancmange, whatever you want to call it. Shocking.
Great descriptions there, Reese.
I felt like I was watching paint dry. Sorry, I thought I've seen more step overs and successful crosses, and he didn't do enough for me defensively. 3.
Okay, didn't expect a 3. I would go a bit harsh, I think, Reese, but I
like seeing attacking fullbacks, and today I didn't see anything.
No, I didn't. I would agree with the majority, at least, a 5. didn't offer anything going forward today. Defensively gets caught out so often. Stu and I have spoken about this. His positional awareness sometimes is terrible, and I saw that on a couple of occasions today.
A broken compass. That's what he is. He's got the positional sense of a broken compass. You know, he's always looking around him. You know what I mean? It's like as if he's wondering, where am I? What am I supposed to be doing here? It's terrible. Terrible.
On the back of that comparison to that golden compass, he would perfectly find Narnia without even finding Narnia. That's how much of a that is. The best way to sum up Dallo. He would find Narnia without even finding it.
Yeah.
Maguire, Dave.
For me, I mean, I'd give him a 7 as well. I thought it was one of his better games this season. I thought he was very commanding at times. He still looks nervous, but for me, I think he's up there with De Gea as one of our better players.
Yeah, Stu.
Oh, he's an 8 for me. I'm not spitballing with you, Dave. I just thought he was an 8 for me. It's been his best performance in the last 5 weeks in terms of games. In terms of games, I'm talking. I thought he was excellent today. I really did.
Reese.
Shock for me. I'm actually giving him an 8 as well. I thought commanded positions really well. I normally slate Maguire. Everybody that knows me knows I slate him more than anybody. But because I've got a high regard for certain players, and he really does flame and frustrate me. I had to control my words there. He frustrates me a lot, but he wasn't actually bad today at all. He commanded his position really well. He wasn't sloppy in mistakes. He wasn't caught in terms of the pacer players around him like Iñárritu or Daka when he came on for the last 5 minutes. Even the wide players like Barnes, he wasn't particularly caught out. It was his fullbacks. He was having to cover them, which says it all. Like a man of his pace should be covering fullbacks at all. But I don't have any issue with that, and I thought he carried the ball really well. Fantastic left foot pass in the first 20 minutes. That should have led to a goal. Yeah, 8 for me.
Yeah, I think after one game, well, I know you're basing it on the one game, but I'm going to go with a 7 for me because it was a good one. He was good today. He looked like his what we've seen of him, his colossal self in the back four. If Varane had probably stepped up and done what he should have done right, then you might have seen maybe a goalless, nothing conceded. But there you go. Varane, Dave.
I'm a big fan of Varane, but today I think he was a 5. I think we got very, very lucky with the Maddison goal. That said, with the letter of the law, I think it was a foul. But come on, he was on his arse. He was spinning around on his arse for like 3 or 4 seconds. It was just, that was the pinnacle of his game. So for me, we got lucky. But I will say, for the letter of the law, it was a foul. It never should have got to that. It really shouldn't have. And for me, he was a 5. He was bang average today.
It's about time we had something go our way for United from a VAR
but you know what?
So
with VAR, with VAR, I don't get too upset about these decisions because I think I know there's that cliche, they even out over the season. I do believe they do. I think, and that's why I don't get upset about that. But we did get
interesting thing about that. If you give him a lower back shove, right at the bottom of his back shove, blindside of the referee.
Yeah.
Ian actually wouldn't have backed into him.
Yeah.
Vicky's not going to talk to me ever again, but sorry, Vic. It's a 4 for me.
A 4. Christ. Reese?
I'm on the same inkling in a way. Vicky can gladly kill me, although to be fair, she is on the weekly she's on the weekly armchair with me tonight doing the WrestleMania watch party, so that's going to be funny.
You're dead. And
I'm going to be killed after you hear the number I'm about to give Varane. I'm about to be killed. I'm also giving him a 4.
Oh, yes. Well, rightly
so.
So.
The reason I'm giving him a 4 though is the sloppy positioning and the rolling around for like 4 seconds. A centre half, like, come on, it's no rocket science. A centre half, if you want to get a striker, I don't care if they've got on the edge of the box and you want to give a free kick away.
Yeah.
Break them in half. I don't care. Like, break them in half. But the best thing he did today, though, was the 2 left-foot passes carried the ball forward. But 2 left-footed passes for me isn't enough when Iñárritu twice should have scored, both from his left foot. It just shows that he can't hit a ball straight. And obviously, Maddison got the best of him too easily. And for me, like, Varane's fantastic, but if that was Maguire, I'd be giving Maguire the same score. I have to be consistent. So yeah, 4.
Yeah. Fair comment.
Yeah. Points well made, mate. Right, I'm going to give you two players each now. Dave, Shaw and McTominay.
Between the two of them, a 5, so 2.5 each. You know, I don't think they did much at all in that game. So yeah, a 5 for me for both.
Yeah, fair point. Stu, Fred and Alanga.
Oh, well, Fred gets a 9 for me. And Alanga. Do you know what? With Alanga, I'm going to give him a 6. And it sounds harsh, but the reason I'm going to give him a 6 because I expect better of him in terms of his ability to play as a 9. Because I think he's got all the attributes to play as a 9. Now, I know you can argue he was shoved, and I'll be quick, he was shoved out on the left or the right, etc. But come on. When you're playing a floating 9 or a false 9, get out of the way, Bruno. I'm there, son. That's where I want to be. I'm going to be in that box. So that's why I'm going to give him a 6. I don't want to slate the lad because I like him. There's a lot of potential, but you've got to see how you see it.
I felt unlucky for him though. Like just adding on, like at the very end, the whole when Rashford got frustrated with him. A lot of people were like slating him, calling him shit. He's 19. It's a rookie mistake. That's going to happen. Of course, he's going to touch the ball. Like it happens.
There's two quick points to that.
You're in the box, you know.
Yeah, there's 2 quick points.
Exactly. He thought he was on side.
Stop Rashford running. Just put your arm across him because the ball's right at your foot and take the shot. And Rashford won't care. Yeah. But what happened was they both went at the same. Or Rashford moves Alanga out the way to get his shot off. That's inexperience from both players. So
yeah, it's Alanga wasn't on his best form today. Not what we've seen in recent weeks in the last couple of games, really. But listen, as we said about before, he's young. Yeah, he's inexperienced. He's been brought in, given this confidence by a manager, and he's going to make mistakes. You expect that. I don't agree with you, Stu, about the number 9, though. I really think he's another inside forward, and we've produced a lot of those over the years.
I thought you meant Fred's 9. I was like, we're going to be having words.
Can I just quickly, just one thing, remind you of his header against Wolves last season? Yeah, phenomenal. Number 9 performance.
Yeah. But we've seen that from Rashford and Martial at times, believe it or not.
But don't forget, you know my view on that certain other player, which I don't mention.
Alanga was a 9 though in the academy as well. He did drip between left and he did dip between left and up front, and he did score 5 penalties. He did score 5 penalties as a 9.
So I always had that argument with a lot of fans denying supporters. Oh, that certain player is a 9. He's our natural heir. No chance. I think Alanga's got that. Not natural instinct, but he's got it there, and you can evolve into a good 9. You really can because he's powerful.
Yeah, I see what you're saying now. I do think he's got more of that than Martial and Rashford.
100%.
And I think you can nurture that a lot easier. Yeah, we won't talk about him. Reece, Fernandes, and Pogba.
Oh, right.
Ooh, what have you given him?
Fernandes and Pogba.
So
in your own time. I haven't got all night.
So you've given me Batman and Joker, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna have to do a combined one on this one. Personally, combined 4. I don't think either of them today convinced me. Like Fernandes, I love the guy to death.
Now, by the way, the 4 was probably for Fernandes. The 0
I was going to put. I would have put Fernandes as a 5 and Pogba as a 2 today because I thought Pogba was great.
So that irons out to 4. We'll go with that then. But in that respect, though, I do think Pogba didn't do enough for me convincingly in the game. Fernandes, he's a fantastic player, but he was not as much as involved today, which is not something you would just say.
I'll be honest. Sorry, Reece. I just
I think that's fair.
That whole front line was just that. I don't think no one knew who was going. No one knew who was holding. No one, like I said, Pogba at one point was up front, and I'm like, what is going on here?
I suppose.
But Stu said these are professional footballers. Why couldn't they have sorted it out amongst themselves?
That's what I was thinking about. It's just saying he wasn't as involved today because there was no communication between any of them. So I think I know I get your point about system and where they're playing and all that, but he didn't seem as involved as Fernandes usually would. And I said at the very start of the show, he scored 2 fantastic goals for Portugal. He should have brought that form into this game, kicked on like this. Like,
I think he was
I don't think we're getting
lacking.
top.
I think he was lacking a number 9 in front of him. Actually, he was
Probably.
running in for
Lacking a focal
Portugal.
point.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Probably.
he
That's a fair point.
in the Portuguese team. Obviously, Ronaldo, Jota, even and one or two more. He was running in and out of the spaces, and he created the space for himself for the 2 goals that he scored in the international. So I think that was a big problem for us
Agreed.
today.
I suppose, but we've seen it. We have seen it though, where he literally was the main focal point last year. When even if we had a number 9, he was the focal point. So I
I'll take your point, Reece. You are right.
I kind of agree and disagree with the comment because, like, yeah, you can have a focal point, but he was our top goal scorer in every competition last season.
He was our main star man, but we needed a target man for him
I don't
to
think
be
we're
able to
going
run
to.
in and maybe
I
not.
get that. I do get your point. I do think we need somebody who can play in the middle as a link up. I do think we need that. But in terms of today, like, whether we had a focal point or not, like, there was just no involvement from anybody, and it was the same for Pogba, same for Fernandes. These are senior players for our team. Fernandes, I adore the guy to death. Pogba, he is hot and cold, but he's still a player that has his uses in a team. Like, nobody will deny that. Like, his vision, his passing, his carrying of a ball is fantastic, but it's hot and cold. Fernandes today was the exact same, and it transcended and it translated as well. Both translated and translated through our entire team. They didn't do anything. We done nothing. We had to rely on a man who should have been doing sermons. He had to save our ass. That says it all. So, Fred, man of the match, hero. The rest of these were terrible. Thank you, Fred, for being my hero.
Yeah, don't disagree with you there. For me, Fernandes probably a 6 and Pogba a 4. I find it really difficult to give anyone lower than a 4 sometimes, guys. So I apologise for that.
You didn't score Varane. What were you scoring for Varane?
I said I was going to say a 5. You're absolutely right. I didn't score, but
Well, because you were trying to avoid the wrath of Vicky. That's why.
No, I'm not avoiding the wrath of anyone. I will fight you with tooth and nail. Right. Anyway, make sure to catch Wayne's review tomorrow on talkofthedevils.co.uk. Really important, really good read as always. We're going to wrap up now. I really appreciate all you guys coming on. Thank you for giving me your time, even if it is shorter than usual. Apologies for that, but really appreciate your time. Always difficult to talk about United after a loss or a draw, and hopefully we can get a few wins in the next few weeks and be able to bring some elation to the reaction, but we'll see. But yeah, thanks to everybody in the comments as well. Really, really good conversations going on tonight. It's very important for us for you to like and subscribe. I can't say that enough. Not doing a shameless plug. I'll do that everywhere. It's important, so please do. But yeah, anyway, we'll see you next week when we play. Who have we got next week? Next Saturday, isn't it?
Everton.
Yeah.
So there could be some joy next weekend, but yeah, knowing us, we'll concede first and get the draw. Anyway, listen, have great evenings, everybody. Happy Saturdays. Enjoy your Sundays tomorrow.